Hello and welcome to another update video about Solana. Here in the short term, we are still consolidating in this sideways move. My count remains unchanged for now. I just wanted to explain in this video the two possible options that we have. We have the situation that this move, let me change that. This move to the upside could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an extended wave 5. Don't get me wrong, there are other ways how this could be labeled, but it doesn't really make a difference up here. And eventually you could come to the same conclusion just with slightly different targets. So I'm leaving it as it is. So I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rule is that wave 3 must not be the shortest one, which it clearly isn't. We then in this fifth wave had here another 5-wave move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, moving up in the wave 5 at the moment. And then this fifth wave ideally is still ongoing. Yeah, so I mean, it already made a higher high compared to wave 3. That was the plan when we were down here. So we had a valid long entry point down here in this support area. And we might see one more squiggle here to the upside in this wave 5, off wave 5, off wave 5, off wave 1. And this can come down all the way, if we draw the fibs, to 2350. Yeah, so it has touched the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, but it hasn't massively reacted to it. I think what we see here is a potential descending wedge. There's different ways of drawing this, but this way looks pretty much like, you know, we're getting into the apex with one fake out here basically to the downside. And you know, there's always different ways of how you can you know, draw these trend lines. But this looks pretty good actually, more or less. So, but yeah, I mean, it's all a bit, you know, subjective, these trend lines, but you know, you could get away with calling this a descending wedge, which you might call then an ending diagonal, for example, here in the C wave. Yeah, surely we could get one more low, maybe touching again the 50% fib level or touching the trend line here. I wouldn't be surprised by that. So, that we maybe came down here in this ending diagonal in a 1, 2, 3, 4 and make another 5 down, you know, and then we move up. That's possible, and I'm waiting here for a decision. I wouldn't be surprised if we really touch this trend line, yeah. So we've been talking about that now for a couple of days, that we might hit this trend line of this large ascending broadening wedge, and then this is the make or break point, the decision. I think if we touch it and see some kind of a bullish reaction, break above the B wave high here at $26, we can get this fifth wave into roughly, you know, the $28 range. I mean, all it really needs to do is to move above the third wave here around 2650, but ideally it pushes a bit higher. If we take the length of the third wave as sort of base for calculating the fifth wave target, which is what you normally do. If, however, we break out of this trend line to the downside, I think then we have the wave 2 starting. Then I have to assume that all of these waves finished actually up here, and that we are now doing some kind of an A wave. We would move up in a B wave, maybe to retest from below and then come down in C. And then we've got this area which is relevant at the moment, located between $12 and $17.50, but I will be able to specify that further as soon as we have a more substantial top in place, and as soon as we have evidence that this is not only a wave 3 top and we're currently doing a wave 4 and will move higher once more, but as soon as we know that this is a more substantial top, then I can calculate target down here. Highly interesting at the moment what's going on there. We certainly have the bearish divergences on the chart. We talked about that before. Yeah, talked about that today. From that high to that high, we made higher high, but actually we made a slightly lower high here. Now on the 1 hour chart, you don't see that very well, but you can actually see it really well here on the 4 hour, where you see a clearly lower high on the 4 hour RSI, relative strength index, and the MACD as well, gives you that bearish divergence. Yeah. So it is, it is highly interesting at the moment. Also, what you typically get between a wave 2 and a wave 4 is a hidden bullish divergence. We don't have that at the moment, which means what you should see is a higher low, obviously, on the price, which we're doing, but the indicator should actually make a lower low in most cases. Now, we don't see that at the moment. We had that, for example, here. Yeah, that was a hidden bullish divergence between this wave 2 and this wave 4. Higher low, obviously, in the price, but we made a lower low on the RSI. So here we don't have that situation. So yeah, it's really getting, I also can't tell you if we're going to hold it or not. But this is certainly another entry point. Now, bear in mind, we had 3 successful entry points here. Not sure if this one will be successful as well. Obviously, the risk increases the higher you go, especially leverage risk. So I would take some leverage out if you have entered with leverage down there somewhere. But, for a spot position, certainly still fine to enter here. But obviously, it depends on, do we hold the support level here or not? Do we hold that ascending trend line or not? Certainly, an ascending broadening wedge would typically break to the downside. But of course, it holds as long as it holds. And the question is, do we break below it now, or do we make that last wave up? I think that's so you see certain cryptos, or a lot of cryptos at the moment, really fighting. The situation isn't very clear. Some cryptos break out, some don't, some are just moving sideways. So it's really, really interesting time now. Situation gets less and less clear the higher we go here, and obviously a little bit more risky as well. And I think probably in a few hours or tomorrow we are going to have a decision here, because then we are going to hit that trend line. Let's see how we react to it. Okay, and that's my update about Solana. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.